I don't want money though. Like,
I know you don't, but I don't know what else to do.
This is a dad trying to buy his daughter off from getting the vaccine back in 2021.
he didn't do this to Michael and Kelsey. They already got it.
Don't you think I know that? Don't you think I know that? What do you think? I'm crazy.
What can we do to help these people? It is so deeply sad.
Your mother got it. Why do you think I'm crazy? My family is gone. My family is gone. By the end of this flu season, most of you will be dead. What the do you expect me to be?
Okay.
This was common sentiment a few years ago. Everybody and their brother believed that, well, all the conspiracy theorists at least, believed that the vaccine was going to get you, it was going to take you out. Most people would be gone. They'd just suddenly die by the end of the summer or by the end of the flu season. 2021 is when this video came out, 2021. And here we sit years later with nothing to show for it. Nobody suddenly died from the vaccine. Nobody suffered. There was no, bizarre mass adverse effect like, everybody was suddenly sterile, like they couldn't have children. None of that. None of that happened. So how are they dealing with it now? And what kinds of claims are we looking at with some of these people? This is Sherry Tenpenny. I don't know if you heard of her, but she's one of the most vocal propagandists against the vaccine, all the way back to when the vaccine was first released, which I think it was first released in 2020, late 2020, early 2021, I think, when it came out and was available to the public. She's been propagandizing about it all the way since then. Listen to what she had to say. Oh, yeah. Here's something else about Sherry Tenpenny. You remember all that stuff a while back about keys and sticking keys to your forehead and stuff like that? People said if you take the vaccine, you're magnetic. You remember all that? That was Sherry Tenpenny that spread a lot of it. I mean, it spread all over TikTok, but she's one of the loudest repeaters of this nonsense.
Protein, which now we're finding has a metal attached to it. I'm sure you've seen the pictures all over the internet of people who've had these shots and now they're magnetized.
Complete nonsense.
They can put a key on their forehead, it sticks. They can put spoons and forks all over them and they can stick. Because now we think that there's a metal piece to that. There's been people who've long suspected.
Just completely made up. All of it was completely made up. This is all the way back in early April 2022. Listen to what she had to say then.
The more shots you get, the more you destroy your immune system and the faster that happens. And it's anticipated, the German data says.
Before she even says it, what German data? Can you give me some information about where to find this alleged German data?
That by the end of 2022, every fully vaccinated person over the age of 30 may have the equivalent of full-blown vaccine-induced immune-suppressed AIDS.
She just claimed that people who got vaccinated are going to have AIDS from the vaccine. And when was it she said this is going to happen?
That by the end of 2022.
Ooh, yeah, that one didn't really play out the way you expected there, did it, Sherry? That one's kind of embarrassing. So I hear you asking, how did they deal with the fact that they just blatantly, flat out lied and got caught in that lie? How did they deal with that fact? Here we are, years later, and there's nothing to show for it. How many people did she say would have AIDS?
Every fully vaccinated person over the age of 30.
Every fully vaccinated person over the age of 30 will have AIDS by the end of 2022. It was made up. It was fabricated. And she knew it was BS, in my opinion. And now she has to account for the fact that she lied to everybody around her, to gigantic audiences. How does she deal with that? Well, she just came out and she had more to say on this subject. She went to a conference called the Reawaken America Tour. It was held at none other than our old buddy Greg Locke's church. He hosted the Reawaken America Tour with Clay Clark and a bunch of other Nutter Butters. And I wanted to see what she had to say about her past predictions or possibly future predictions at the Reawaken America Tour. Listen to this, late January 2023.
Now we're seeing the tsunami of deaths that I've been talking about since the beginning of 21. Millions of people are going to die. You know, when Judy
Interesting. We are seeing the tsunami of deaths. Millions of people are going to die. Just a flat-out blatant lie on her part. Do you have any idea how much millions of people is? Holy shit, dude. 58,000 people died in Vietnam, 40 million died in World War I, and 116,000 Americans died in World War I. She's saying millions of people are going to die in short order.
Millions of people are going to die. You know, when Judy Mikovits came out on Plandemic.
Plandemic is a conspiracy video that these types of people spread all over everything.
Judy Mikovits came out on Plandemic at the beginning of that and said that more than 50 million people are going to die, and everybody was like, whoa. And when they started interviewing...
Yeah, that makes sense. To say whoa to that. 50 million people? Do you have any idea how many people that is? That's 15% of the U.S. population. That is every black man, woman, and child in the country. That's how many people that is. That's absolutely insane that they would claim something like that. And she's saying it with a straight face. Keep listening.
And when they started interviewing me and asked me what did I think about that number, I said it's way too low.
So she thinks it's going to be more than 15%. Wow. She is so completely full of it. And she's saying it with a straight face. Does she believe this stuff? Is she a true believer? Or does she know she's lying?
It's going to be much more than 50 million people in America alone. And we're already starting to see it.
No, we aren't. Not a lick of evidence from these people, notice. They never provide evidence.
So the tsunami of deaths is coming. It's already here. And I believe that what's happening now and is starting to happen now is the tsunami of regret. Of the people that fell for the lies. Your friends and family members and parents and children and all they did to your grandchildren just could not be told otherwise.
I'm not feeling any regret. I got 4 shots or something like that. I have my vaccine card in my pocket. I carry that bad boy around. Absolutely zero regret from me or anybody that I know. See, this is the key to their whole belief system here. She claimed by the end of 2022, people were going to have full-blown AIDS if they got vaccinated and they were over 30. And lo and behold, that didn't happen. She claimed 50 million people were going to die, more even, and it never happened. How does she justify continuing this nonsense, spreading it even further, convincing more people that she was right all along? You know, there's something called cognitive dissonance. You've probably heard of this before, but there's a guy named Leon Festinger. He wrote a book called When Prophecy Fails, and it was about this UFO cult. These people, a professor at a college and his assistants and his students and some other people were involved in this whole thing, who were convinced that a UFO was going to come pick them up on December 23rd, I think, the day before the entire Earth is flooded, Noah's flood style. They were convinced the aliens were going to come. They're convinced they're receiving messages from the aliens actively. They're beaming information about this into their heads. And when January 23rd rolls around and nothing happened, what happened? How did they respond to that? They changed their beliefs. This book, When Prophecy Fails, and its author, Leon Festinger, are where the term cognitive dissonance was coined. Leon Festinger coined that term. He came up with it for this book, for this study. And he determined that when people are pushed up against a wall with their existing beliefs, and they have no way out of the claims that they've already made, they have no way to deal with the fact that they were wrong about something that they said. They deal with it in 4 different ways, okay? Now, there are only a couple that I'm really worried about, so let's talk about those. The first one that people do when they're faced with the fact that reality is not in line with their beliefs is they'll make up an entirely new story to fit the already existing beliefs and fit reality both, right? So Donald Trump is prophesied to be the president in 2022. Supposedly, this guy goes to the future. God takes him to the future and shows him in 2022, Donald Trump is the president, right?
Into this, went through this portal, nobody was wearing a mask. Glory to God. It was a thing of the past. The mask, the virus is going bye-bye. And I didn't know what year it was, so I saw a gentleman pass by me. And as he was passing by me, I had asked him, I said, sir, what year is this? He goes, man, it's 2022. Don't you know? It's 2022. And I go, wow. Please tell me, who is the president? And he told me, he said, it's Donald Trump.
Now, when you're faced with this type of situation, assuming that this guy is not blatantly bald-faced lying and he really does believe any of this stuff, when you're faced with this situation where the beliefs that you hold and reality are no longer working together, you have to change something, right? So he'll come up with a new explanation. And the explanation that he'll come up with, for example, might be, Donald Trump is actually really the president secretly. He really is. That's where you get people like Pastor Johnny Enlow claiming Trump is still the president to this day. In fact, he moved up. He's no longer just president of the United States. He's now president of Earth.
He is recognized as the primary government leader on planet Earth. People need to know that. From heaven, President Trump is recognized as the primary government leader on planet Earth.
So for our purposes, cognitive dissonance has two primary solutions to resolve that inconsistency. Really what it is just a stress in your mind that needs to be alleviated. The first way people alleviate that stress is by making something up, creating a new story, fabricating something new that fits both your already existing beliefs and reality. And the other way that people deal with cognitive dissonance is to evangelize. Convince everybody around you that you were right all along. That helps alleviate that stress in your mind, realizing that you were wrong all along. The more people you can convince, the more the stress goes away. And that's why, in my opinion, that's why I believe that Sherry Tenpenny is out here trying to convince everybody that there really are people dying suddenly. She made some pretty on-the-point claims about people over 30 having AIDS by the end of 2022 and stuff. And here we sit with nothing to show for it, no evidence to be found. So what's the next logical step for her in this illogical situation? The next logical step is to alleviate that cognitive dissonance stress. Make up a story that makes your already existing beliefs merge with reality and spread it to as many people as you can. And that's what we're witnessing right now with Sherry Tenpenny.
America alone. And we're already starting to see it. So the tsunami of deaths is coming. It's already here. And I believe that what's happening now and is starting to happen now is the tsunami of regret, of the people that fell for the lies. Your friends and family members and parents and children and all they did to your grandchildren just could not be told otherwise.
Completely made up. There is no quote-unquote tsunami of regret. I've not heard a single person tell me that they regretted getting the vaccine. Literally not one. I haven't seen it online or anywhere at all. It's just made up to try to alleviate that cognitive dissonance stress.
But now that people are dying like flies, I mean, my business partner has 83 close people in his life that have died.
Who has 83 close people in their life? Holy shit, dude. That's a lot of people. There are actually statistics on this. Hang on. Okay. In general, based on 2021 survey data, the average person in America has between 3 and 5 close friends. This is from a 2020 study of 422 women ages 31 to 77 and some other studies. It's not too hard to find. There's 2021 survey data on AmericanSurveyCenter.org. You can look that up too if you're curious. But anyways, the point is, it's not 83. How does somebody come up with 83 people that they even know? Do I even know 83 people personally? Have I met 83 people in my life? I don't think I have. As far as I can tell, I believe that the editor will correct me in the note right below my face here. But as far as I can tell, you will meet about 10,000 people in your lifetime total. Like, shake somebody's hand 10,000 different times, like 10,000 different people. How the hell does her business partner know 83 people personally that close? What?
Most people in his life that have died. 83. It's the beginning. And I predict that by the end of this year,
You know, I hate to keep harping on this, but there's just one more point I've got to bring up here. Her business partner, certainly an anti-vaxxer, right? She wouldn't associate with somebody who was, pro-vaccine. How does this guy know 83 pro-vax people in the first place who would get vaccinated? Like, every part of this story is rife with holes. It's all ridiculous. But the people in the audience believed the things that she said before, the things that Greg Locke said, the things that Clay Clark and Jim Brewer and all of the other attendees at this conference said. They believed them, and they're having that cognitive dissonance too, and they need to find a way to alleviate it. So they're willing to believe whatever it is she has to say.
died. 83. It's the beginning. And I predict that by the end of this year, every person in this room and every person listening behind here is going to know a minimum of 5, probably 10 or more close friends and family members that have died from.
You would think that she would learn not to make these predictions, but she just keeps doing it. Like, this is what led to the cognitive dissonance in the first place, and she's doing it again. She just say by the end of 2023, I think that's what she just said.
3 close people in his life that have died. 83. It's the beginning. And I predict that by the end of this year,
By the end of 2023, wow.
every person in this room and every person listening behind here is going to know a minimum of 5, probably 10 or more close friends and family members that have died from these shots.
Absolutely absurd, dude. Will she ever bust through that cognitive dissonance is the real question. This is Lauren Witzke here on the left and her co-host on the right. They have a show together. She actually ran for U.S. Senate, I believe, in 2020. Lost, of course, luckily, because she's a white nationalist and extremist. And I don't say white nationalist lightly here. I mean, she's a full-blown, white supremacist. She's basically a neo-Nazi. I feel I'm comfortable using that term for Lauren Witzke. Anyways, this is from mid-January 2023. She had some things to say about this concept that people are suddenly dying, this BS concept, this result of cognitive dissonance that people are simply making up to alleviate that stress. Listen to what she said.
The problem the enemy's having, Lauren, is even if some of these cases, it's not because of the vaccine, everyone automatically thinks the vaccine's the cause. And that's the thing about it. We're not the one fueling that. The government, the elite, the people who...
In all of these cases, the cases he's referring to are the cases where people, quote-unquote, suddenly died. There are no cases of that. They are just blindly claiming it with absolutely no evidence and expecting their audience to believe it. And they will. They will believe it because they're feeling the cognitive dissonance too, of course.
And that's the thing about it. We're not the one fueling that. The government, the elite, the people who push this shot on humanity, they're the ones that are responsible for the mistrust.
Well, Edward, as far as I'm concerned, everybody who dies suddenly or has died suddenly, it's a result of the vaccine. It's up to them to prove me to prove me wrong, because we're at a point now where it has been, there's overall excess deaths. Like Ed Dowd said, the BlackRock old manager, the retired manager from...
Dude, what is she even talking about right now? First of all, that's not how logic works, okay? You don't wait for somebody to prove you wrong. You have to prove you right. This is Logic 101. Doesn't surprise me to find that not only is she a white supremacist, she's also an anti-vaxxer. That comes as no surprise at all to me. But this stuff about BlackRock CEO, what? What about the BlackRock CEO, and why should I care?
Old manager, the retired manager from BlackRock, he was saying that oh my gosh, millennial deaths are through the roof. Like,
No, it's completely made up. Like all of it. And what does through the roof even mean? Like everything out of their mouths is a lie intended to whip people into a blood frenzy, scare the shit out of them, and make them think that they are in mortal danger just to alleviate the cognitive dissonance that they created for themselves.
Unprecedented numbers. We're facing a Six Sigma event where we're not even going to have a working class because they mandated the vaccine for the working class who is now dying. And, you know, like I said, you have to prove me wrong if it wasn't the vaccine. That's the thing, because I'm going to automatically assume it is.
And it's fair to assume.
No, it's not. This is not happening. There is no, like, mass extinction of working class people. What? What are they even talking about? This is completely made up, all of it. This just blows me away that they can be so brazen as to say some of the stuff that they say with a straight face and know that their gullible audience is going to believe them. It's nuts, dude. It's absolutely nuts. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Tell me if you think these people will ever come back to reality or if they are dead set on fueling the delusion that you find in the U.S. right now. Tell me what you think.